call is now being recorded.
Hey there, folks. I'm here with Leslie Allison. She's with Premium Cabinets over in Overland Park. How you doing today, Leslie?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah, it's beautiful down here in Charleston as well. Well, let's dive right into it. If you wouldn't mind giving me just a little background about Premium Cabinets in Overland Park, how you guys got started, when, and what got you involved in starting it.
Well, the way we found it was my husband Don was looking on LinkedIn, looking for opportunities, and saw this, and it was a good fit for us. At first, I thought cabinets. Okay, cabinets. All right. I guess there's a market for it. Hadn't really thought about it, but we both come from a retail marketing background, and we both have got he worked construction quite a bit in college. My dad was a home builder, and I grew up as a child going out smelling the fresh cut wood on job sites, playing in sand piles, and my poor mother yelling at us not to step on any nails to get a nail through our foot. So, I have that kind of background, and I guess maybe it was just, something that I learned early on, but looking at houses, it's almost like a hobby. It's kind of like people go to an art gallery. I like to go look at houses, not to judge, but just to see how things are done. And, the kitchen is the heart of the home. And whenever I look at a magazine, you look at these beautiful kitchens. If I'm ever looking at a house for a friend to buy or for us to buy, it's kind of like, what does the kitchen look like? That's always the indicator to me of how the family lived and how well they took care of their house based on what kind of kitchen they had, at least for me. So,
well, no, I completely agree. Anytime I walk in, and I'm sure most folks listening walk into a house or go to a get-together or a party, usually the main place that folks end up staying, hanging out, drinking is just right in the kitchen. And but like you said, the heart of the home, and it's pretty important.
Well, it's where you begin and eat in each day, and it's what nourishes you, but that's where you do your homework. I grew up in an era, that's where you had a wall phone, and that's where you talked on the telephone. So that's where you talked to your boyfriends and grandma, and, everything else all happened in the kitchen. And it's funny, I like to watch, the old TV shows like, Donna Reed or, Father Knows Best. Everything's always centered. They're always in the kitchen, always around the kitchen, looking, cooking, eating, talking, and that's just a communal area. And it needs to be something that's comfortable and nice and, as nice as you can afford to have. And when I look at a kitchen, it's kind of like, well, did they actually use this kitchen, or was it for show, or was it just very utilitarian? And, you see a lousy-looking kitchen, it's kind of like, because really, after you see the kitchen, yeah, there's a bathroom, but then everything else is just empty rooms. So the kitchen's the one, I guess, it's got the most furnishings in it, and it's got the most things that indicate, what style of home. You can tell the age of a home, how well they took care of it, what their tastes were, and things like that, just by looking at, how the kitchen was done.
I would guess that quite a bit of your clientele is from folks who are looking to sell their homes, and one of the things that realtors will recommend is to update kitchens. Is that accurate?
Update their kitchens, and then also update their bathrooms. But the kitchens, like I said, that's a main focus, I guess, because it is such an important room, and it's so expensive to have someone come in and redo. So that's and that just ties back to another thing that, that drew us to, Premium Cabinets was, everyone likes a bargain, and I have got friends and clients that have a lot of money, and they always want the best value for the least amount of money, don't we all? So, that's the thing about, Premium Cabinets. They're really nice, high-quality, all-wood cabinets at a great price. And to me, that is just a formula for, I can sell that. If I like it, love it, I can sell that. Now, if it was something, that was beautiful but very expensive, that lets a lot of people out. And a lot of people just, even if they can't afford to do it, they don't want to do it. We have a lot of people that are looking to age in place. They're staying in their big luxury homes because it's close to being paid for, or they're old enough now they can do a reverse mortgage on it, but they still want, some updated features and things like that in their home. So they're choosing to redo their kitchen, redoing their bathrooms to make it more universal for them as they get older. And so they want to stay there and do that and upgrade those kinds of things. And they don't want to spend an absolute fortune in order to do it.
Nice. Yeah, that kind of leads me to my next question. There's probably a few different places where folks can get updated cabinets and things like that. Why should someone buy their cabinets from Premium Cabinets in Overland Park?
Well, yes, you can go to a lot of different places and find a lot of different things, but one thing we always try to stress is, hey, we're local. We're a local, quote, mom and pop. The money we make here stays here. You're not giving it to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or an IKEA that goes off to some board of directors someplace. Your money stays right here. And a lot of people like that. But the second thing is we really believe in having customer service. I think it's a lost art anymore. We want people to love where they live. We want people to be happy. We want to build a stellar reputation, and so we go out of our way to give people choices, to really work with them. And this involves a lot of phone calls, but right now I've got more time than money. So, a lot of phone calls, checking, emailing, finding things, coming up with ideas for people. Because I also have worked in the past as an interior designer, and so I see things when I see a kitchen. It's kind of like automatically my mind starts thinking about the wall color or what kind of fabric you could put here or what would we do for the hardware and things like that, because I want it to be a complete look for people and I want them to enjoy it and I want to make it fun for them. And there's nothing much more aggravating when you're trying to give somebody your money and they can't return a phone call or they're late for an appointment or they say, here it is, choose A, B, or C. I don't care. We really work with our customers to design something that's more customized for their lifestyle and for their likes and what their living space looks like. So we'll coordinate with that and make sure that we have things that go with how they cook, what they have to store, if they've got a lot of big pots and pans. Or we had one lady that had, she loved placemats and napkins. So she wanted special drawers for all these placemats and napkins. And so we really try to work with them, ferret out every bit of information on how you're going to use this space because it needs to look beautiful, but it also has to be functional. And it's our job to make sure that we match those things, that we hit every note on what they want to achieve and the look and the function of their kitchen or their bath design.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you guys definitely help folks choose the styles and the types of cabinets to really match the customer's taste. That's great.
And like I said, I like to go out and look at people's homes, and I don't just go into the kitchen or the bathroom. You can tell, or at least I think most of the time I can tell what someone's home looks like based on how they're dressed. Because if they're very fashionable, they'll probably have some very trendy, hip, nice looking things. If they're all in black, maybe they're very chic. If they look like they just came out of a thrift store, that's fine. That may be what their house looks like, because so much of home design will follow fashion as well. So a lot of times you can kind of get a vibe on what they like and what they want and what their style is. And then I also have like a little quiz sometimes if they can't figure out which, cabinet they like. There's like a little quiz that decides if you're a traditional or if you're eclectic or whatever. And that's more of a way just to interact with the customer for them to get to know me and vice versa. And then almost always they'll have one or two cabinet styles or a finish or something. They'll bring a magazine in and they want their kitchen to look as close to that as possible, or that's the inspiration that we work with.
Nice. Now, I'm sure it's probably obvious to a lot of people, but what would you say is main reasons or how someone would know that it's time to update their cabinets?
Well, if they're sick and tired of looking at the old cabinets, that's one thing.
Yep.
But and then of course, if you open up the cabinet and the hinge pulls out of the wall or out of the cabinet because it's old. But a lot of times, I'll say the majority of the times when you're working with customers, a lot of times you're working with a couple, and it's usually the wife that is driving this, because she's traditionally the one that spends most of the time in the kitchen, at least planning meals or, doing something. But, women look at, home magazines, they watch, TV shows, and they go, wow, look at that arch over the oven at, on Blackish, they notice things like that. And then they look at theirs and go, We had 2 referrals, and the way these people decided they needed a new kitchen, they went to a friend of theirs that we did our first customer, and her kitchen turned out beautifully. And she has a lot of friends, a lot of connections, and she has a lot of parties, and people just came in and they were just, amazed how wonderful her old dingy kitchen looked. And she said, I'd wanted to do it for years. We finally had the money, and I was going to go ahead and go do it. So now that Debbie has a beautiful kitchen, now Kathy and Karen and, all these other people, Martha, like, well, ours don't, they compare. So they look and see, what their girlfriend has done. Is kind of like, wow, we need to do this too. So I guess maybe it's in some part, maybe it's like keeping up with Joneses sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. Now tell me just a little bit about the different types of cabinets and doors that you guys offer.
Oh, there's so many of them. I just recently posted something on my Facebook about the love affair with I'll say nifty shades of gray as far as kitchen cabinetry. And one of our vendors just came out with a really pretty soft dove gray cabinet. And like I said, a lot of people, the last 2 clients we've done, they're younger, they're in their 20s, and of course they wanted to go with, we didn't have the gray cabinets then, but they've gone with gray walls, gray granite, and things like that. But I think most of our most popular door style is still a very traditional, either a shaker or something called a Hampton white, and a white painted cabinet has still been very, very popular. We have had a couple of people that have come in and looked at the Naughty Maple, which is a beautiful natural finish, sort of a honey blonde color that's got knot holes in it. I like that because it looks great in an application of a lake home or a mountain home, or if you want to do what I call cowboy chic. It also looks great in more of a Ralph Lauren, maybe a den or something like that, in that kind of, that kind of design. So that's been very popular, but a white kitchen is still the standard. It is classic. It is clean. You go back, 100 years and people still had, white kitchens because it was just clean. And when you see spaghetti sauce up there, high contrast, you can see where to wipe and where to clean.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's your personal favorite thing about helping folks get new cabinets and updated kitchens?
Well, I like the process of getting to know them, but I like the process of picking out finishes, because I'll help people with paint, with granite. I will suggest, fabrics and lighting and things like that for them. And that's a creative process that's just part of my brain. That's just something I like doing. Some people like painting. I like doing creative kinds of things like that, but working with people. And, part of me is a teacher trying to explain the difference in that. And that comes from an interior design background. You have to explain to them why you do a certain thing to give a certain look. And so I try to always make sure that people are educated on what features to look for in cabinetry. I mean, you do want, a soft closed door. You do want all wood. You do want a dovetail joint. And this is why you want these things. And explain, the features and the benefits of things like that to people. And then also the creative process. And, also making money. That's always nice, too, when you sell things to people and, you enjoy that. And sometimes I've spent a lot of time with people and didn't make any money on it. So, but I think you still make an impression on people, and hopefully a favorable one that maybe they didn't buy from you this time, but maybe they will, or maybe they'll refer me on to somebody else. So I always try to, never want to burn a bridge in any kind of business, but you never know, someone gets transferred, their husband loses their job, and they can't afford to do something like that. And so, you always want to treat people, respectfully and courteously, and, make sure that we keep a file on them, what they picked, what they liked. Sometimes I'll see something in a magazine, or I'll see something, on Pinterest or something like that, and I'll put that into a file for these people, that if they come back, fine. If they don't, I've got a portfolio of ideas for the next customer.
Have you run across any horror stories of folks coming to you guys? I mean, like, we desperately need new cabinets.
I haven't. Also, the last one, I won't say it's a horror story, but this was an unusual situation. This was a young couple, first-time home buyers, and they were buying a house that somehow, I don't know if a pipe burst. Anyway, the house was flooded, and the kitchen was flooded, and it was gutted. And so how we came to them was the insurance agent that filed the claim on this house contacted a buddy of his who's a contractor who happened to be looking for cabinets and ran across us on the internet. And so we got involved that way. Well, the contractor would never tell us what the budget was. Kind of give me an idea. And so it's like, okay, well, we try to give sort of a low ball, kind of like, well, I don't really know, kind of groping in the dark here. And the young couple didn't know what the budget was either. But, of course, like most people, they've got champagne taste they don't know what kind of budget. And so things that they were picking out were expensive. They looked at some granite that was, like $75 a square foot, and they couldn't afford that. So we were having to work through the contractor, and then the young couple got involved, and this is what they wanted. It's kind of like, okay, well, then you need to call your contractor or your insurance guy and tell them what you want to pay. And that was just kind of like a lot of phone calls, a lot of things, because they'd never purchased a house before, and they'd never built a house before. They'd never picked out cabinets or furnishings or granite or anything else. And they really didn't know what their budget was, and we didn't know what their budget was, and we were trying to talk to the contractor. The contractor was talking to us. The young couple was trying to talk to us. We were trying to be respectful and talk to them. So that was a little bit of a mess, but we got them their cabinets. We got them some granite. We got them in, and they're moving this weekend. So
nice. That's
I think
awesome.
it's all taken care of. They were, we're going to be homeless. We have to be out of our apartment by the 24th. You've got to get this done. And the contractor was like, yeah, you got plenty of time. And I'm like, okay.
I've heard stories of folks.
You won't be homeless. You won't be homeless. You can sit here and you can sleep in our showroom. But they had family in town, so they weren't really going to be homeless. But they were just kind of panicking about that one.
Yeah, I've heard stories of folks and their kids have gone and carved in the cabinets and things like that. So I was just curious if you've run across anything, and I'm sure you will one day, probably.
I'm sure we will. No, we haven't run across anything like that as of yet. Right now, what we mostly see are people who their houses are usually 25 to 30 years old, which sounds like a long time ago, but that was just like 1991.
Wow.
And they're just wanting something newer and nicer. And like I said, in Kansas City, there's lots of home shows, and there's a couple of beautiful retail home decor places that get a lot of nationwide attention. And you go up there and just go, wow, look at these beautiful towels or beautiful artwork and things like that. And then you come and put it in your kitchen. It's kind of like, it's the domino theory. You get one new thing. Maybe you get a new set of beautiful, pots and pans, or some nice, beautiful Le Creuset, cast iron. Well, now it looks crummy on this old this old, stove top. Well, as long as we're changing that out, you might as well redo the kitchen. So as long as you're doing that, now you're going to have to do the granite. Well, yeah, but look how crummy this floor looks. Well, now we got to paint. So it's one thing that leads to another. And I tell people, let's just break it down in chunks, because if you think about it all together, that's a big expense and a big mess. And to a lot of people, that's just overwhelming. So it's kind of like, let's just take bite size at a time. And this is the priority, and this is the succession. You have to have cabinets to put the countertop on, so and you have to have floor to put the cabinets on, so it's just, it kind of like goes in succession, not like that. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4 of how to get your kitchen done. So it's my job to kind of alleviate the anxiety and break it down into small manageable bites so they can do it a little at a time and get the result that they want.
Yeah, that could be overwhelming, but it sounds like as long as you break it up, it's manageable.
It is.
Now, what's your favorite thing about living in Overland Park?
Well, we actually live in the area. We live in Leawood, but I like all of the activities. Like this weekend, we do have some family. Our little granddaughter plays soccer, but there's going to be a wine walk downtown, and then there's the Royals in town, and then we have Sporting KC soccer, and then there's concerts and comedians. There's so much activity that's always going on, plus all the great places to go out to eat, and there's beautiful parks also that we can take our granddaughter to and have a picnic, and we make her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and pack a juice box and eat on a blanket in the park, and she thinks that is the greatest thing ever. So we like that quality of life that we have here in the Kansas City area.
Nice, that sounds great. Well, if you wouldn't mind letting folks know where to find out more information about you guys, how to get in touch with you, how to call you, how to email you.
Well, you can call me at 913-706-2347, or you can go to PremiumCabinets.com/Overland Park, or Premium Cabinet Studio in Overland Park, Kansas, and we would love to hear from you.
Well, awesome. Well, Leslie, thank you so much. This has been very informative, and I do thank you, and have a beautiful day.
Thanks, Mark. You too. Have a great weekend. Bye.